All right, everybody, good evening. Little pre-show chat before we go live. And I decided tonight, right before showtime, to launch this out onto YouTube tonight, too, as well as the Bunker Cam. So good evening, everybody. Tonight, William Henry is here, and we're going to do a full show on Egypt. And nobody better than William for that. But there was a recent discovery of a chamber above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid of Giza, and lots of speculation about what could possibly be in there. We always knew there was more to the Great Pyramid than we've been told and has been discovered. Now the chamber is there, and huge announcement last week about this being an Iron Throne. And William has got a new paper out called The Iron Throne of Osiris. And that's what we will be discussing tonight. I cannot wait for this. My favorite subject to discuss is Egypt. Well, time travel and UFOs and all of that stuff. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Also, tomorrow night is Fader Night. No More Fake Newsroom with John Rappaport, open lines. All night long, and then immediately after that, Friday night, I'm over at Coast to Coast AM, sitting in for George Norrie, and my guest will be Jason Martell, followed by open lines all night long. And then Saturday, I'm down at the NAM show, and if you're going to be at the NAM show, come by and see me. I'll be at the Tascam booth at 1 p.m., and after that, I'm just going to be running around checking out all the new gear. Okay, so there you go. Go live here in a few seconds. Enjoy the show tonight. William Henry is our guest. Tonight, it's all Egypt all the time. Okay? I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Or a few seconds. We go live in 20 seconds.
Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Wednesday, January 24th, 24 days into the new year, just 341 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network. and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking? How you doing? All right, tonight it's all Egypt all the time. William Henry is our guest, and he's here to talk about that chamber that was just discovered above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid in Giza, and the Iron Throne of Osiris. Yeah, perfect evening. Can't wait. Tomorrow night is another Fader night in the No More Fake Newsroom with John Rappaport and open lines all night long. And then Friday, I'm over at Coast to Coast AM. I'll be sitting in for George Norrie. My guest will be Jason Martell, followed by open lines all night long. So you get 2 nights in a row of open lines with yours truly. So enjoy that. Man, I just love open lines. The fact that we do those back to back, right? Open lines over here on Fade to Black and head straight over to Coast on Friday night and do open lines over there. I just have to say, there is nothing cooler, really, and I'm serious about this, than taking that open line phone call. Unscripted, just go, any subject on the table. It is just a fun thing to do. I mean, seriously. Been doing it for years now. It's just so cool. It is. Man, I've got the best job in the world. Okay, I've got the best job in the world. William Henry is here tonight, and when it comes to Egypt, it is we here. Okay, this is what we do here. We do conspiracy, and underneath all things conspiracy, you've got UFOs, you've got false flags, you've got near-death experiences, you have ghosts, you have the paranormal. I can go on and on. Lost history, ancient history, and of course, and with that, you've got what's going on in South America, Central America with lost history, of course, Egypt, you've got Greece, you've got Rome, Mesopotamia, ancient Sumer, all of that, right? And push it all the way over into China and Japan and the Far East and India and the Indus Valley. The lost history is just an amazing conspiracy because it is. It's a conspiracy. And when I often say conspiracy is the new normal, and you take a look at lost history and you start to examine that and peel it back, and the more that you find out, and then you compare that to what you have been taught, 2 different things, right? And you're forced to take this new knowledge and take the old knowledge and kind of blend them together, and you see names and dates and things, and you try to get them connected together to come up with something that is closer to reality and truth for you. And that's why William Henry is such a great guest. And when we jump into lost history, because everything is connected. Everything is connected. How many times do I have to say here? And I keep saying it's not we. How many times do we have to say here that I can connect, researchers can connect, you can connect the Sphinx or the Great Pyramid and the JFK assassination? You can do it. You can do it. That's what's great about this show. And when it comes to ancient Egypt and trying to figure out what is going on there, I need to know. You need to know. When things like what we're going to discuss tonight, the new things that pop up with Egypt, right? There isn't supposed to be anything to be discovered inside of the Great Pyramid. It's a closed book, right? According to Egyptologists, there's nothing there. Now we've got a new chamber that has been discovered, and it's big. It's over 100 feet long, 35 feet wide, 30 feet tall. That's a big room, right? 135 feet. What are we talking about here? What's its purpose? What is in there? Now, and we'll get into this with William, but when the King's Chamber, they called it the King's Chamber, there was nothing ever found there, but the King's Chamber was first broken into, and they got in there, and there was a lid on what you could call on the box, the sarcophagus, but they were the first guys in there. They opened that up. It's empty. Empty. Like the Fifth Element. This box is empty, as in no stones. Empty. Right? Empty. Now, if it was a tomb, where's the mummy? Because it's not a tomb. Right? And there was supposed to be nothing else there. So we'll discuss all of that tonight with William Henry. I want to know. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple, at JChurchRadio. We use hashtag F2BQ for the sandbox. We also use Twitter here for our conversations on TweetDeck. Go and get yourself Twitter and come and hang out. Any questions or comments during the show tonight? Hashtag F2BQ. Chat rooms are open. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Here, I'll do a quick good evening to everybody. There you go. And boom. Chat rooms are open over in Spreaker, KGRA. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. If you have any questions or comments during the show tonight, use hashtag F2BQ, and everything is live right here to my right. Okay, a couple of things really quick. Numana Food Storage, emergency food storage, has a promo going on until the end of the month, until the end of January, just for you Fadernauts. So go over to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Numana banner, it's right there, and use the promo code Jimmy10. That's Jimmy and the number 10, no spaces, Jimmy10, and you're going to get 10% off of your order. You're going to get free shipping, and you're going to get an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Any order over $100. Okay, so that's just for you. That's the best deal on the net. And really, honestly, you need to feel good. You need to feel safe. You need to know that if anything goes down, boom, you're covered. A couple of months ago, it's longer than that now, 3-4 months ago, we were going through a few emergencies that we always do here in Southern California. You never know what they are. And there were all these talks about earthquakes, and the fires are going on, and there were some other things happening here in Southern California. And Rita turned to me and she said, well, what's your plan? I was like, what do you mean? What's my plan? What's your plan? Do we have anything going on? And we went and we sat there and we talked. Well, we got water. We got water. And me being the king of the house, right? Right? King of the house. I didn't have a plan. So we went out and we shopped for all of those emergency things. And we got a load of flashlights and batteries, and we got lanterns and cooking things, and I got coffee, instant coffee. Didn't even think about that. And you start going down the list, and it's hard to shop, right? So we got cases of soups and things, and whatever we could get that would have a good shelf life. And we built out a couple of those plastic, storage containers, and we stuffed those. And it cost us hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But at least that night, I sat back and went, okay, if anything goes down, we have can openers in there. We've got glow sticks, and if it goes, I've got creamer for the coffee. So, but if anything goes down, at least I know that something can be done, right? And it was a couple of days later, we were contacted by Numana. And now I've got Numana too as well, and I feel great. I just know Numana tastes good. I know that nobody's going to be upset. I know that it's GMO free, MSG free. It's made here in America. It tastes great, and it's there, and I know that I'm covered. So Numana's got this special going for you guys. Feel like I do. Just go and get yourself one of those family pack buckets at the very minimum, so you know that you and your family are taken care of in those times of an emergency. Okay, our next event is coming up. William Henry, our guest tonight, is going to be there. It's the Conscious Life Expo, and it's going down February 9th through the 12th right here in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. Head over to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Conscious Life Expo banner, and get over and get your tickets and a place to stay and come out and hang out with us. Okay, we've got a full weekend of action planned. Oh, you're going to want to be there, by the way, because I got, you know what? I'm just going to announce this. I'm going to announce it. We're going to have, along with River Moon Coffee, we have a booth. We're going to have Fade to Black River Moon Coffee mugs. But you can only get them at the Conscious Life Expo. That's right. Fade to Black River Moon Coffee mugs. Yeah, that's worth the price of admission right there. That's worth a plane ticket because you're only going to get those there. I can't wait. River Moon Coffee is going to be there. Ronnie McMullen is going to be there with Life Change Tea. Chip Paul's going to be there from New Pharma. We're going to be there. We've all got booths. It's going to be a full weekend, jam-packed. Come and hang out with us. Okay, William Henry's going to be there, and he'll be on the Ancient Aliens panel along with Linda Moulton Howe, Corey Good, David Wilcock, Jay Widener. Come and hang out with us. And then June 1st through the 4th, 2018, our next conference will be Contact in the Desert in Indian Wells, Palm Springs at the Renaissance Resort and Spa. You can go to contactinthedesert.com. We've started to get things out there on social media, and we'll get stuff up on the website here very, very soon for everybody to go get your tickets and come hang out with us at Contact in the Desert. This year, it's not going to be in Joshua Tree. No, it's not going to be out in the dust in the open deserts. It's not going to be in Joshua Tree. It's in Palm Springs. And that Renaissance Resort and Spa is spectacular. So come and hang out with us. Also, they have, if you go to the website and check, they've got these fire pits. And I got the feeling that's where we're going to be hanging out. We're going to get us a fader, not fader pit. We're going to reserve one of those, and that's where we're going to be hanging out. And that will be June 1st through the 4th, 2018. Okay. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Over 790 archive shows. Apple, Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. Okay. You can also become a Fadernaut in our membership section on the site, and it's very easy, simple, and secure. You can get everything that you want. You can get the bunker cam. You can get commercial-free downloadable archives. Downloadable commercial-free archives. And you can elevate yourself all the way up to the Game Changer and get your Fade to Black gear, autograph hats, T-shirts, all of that stuff. And you can do that in our membership section. Okay, let's get this show cracking. Today, Neil Diamond is 77. Yeah, and he made the announcement. Happy birthday, Neil. He made the announcement a couple of days ago that he is retiring. He's got some health issues. I think, isn't it something like Parkinson's or something? Very, very sad to hear that. Neil Diamond is 77. Matthew Lillard is 48. Now, he's a funny guy. I like Matthew, but he's Shaggy in all of the new Scooby-Doo stuff. But he was also great in the new Twin Peaks. He's also great in Bosch. And if you haven't seen Bosch, you should check that out. Watch all the seasons. Twin Peaks 2 as well, of course. But he was also really, really good in Halt and Catch Fire. And I don't know if you've checked that out, but I've managed to squeeze all of those seasons in. I haven't caught the new one, which was just released. Our dead guy's birthday today is, need a moment of silence, John Belushi. Yeah, John Belushi, 1949 to 1982. And as influential as he is and has been on cinema, comedy, and others, it's pretty crazy when you think about this. There's the Blues Brothers, Continental Divide, Neighbors, 1941, Animal House. That's it. That's it. A movie career that spanned just 3 years. 3 years, 1978 to 1981. It's unbelievable, isn't it? And Saturday Night Live, 1975 to 1979. That's it. It stops you in your tracks when you think about that. That's all there is. You think that there's a lot of Belushi out there. There is not. You know, if you count a few other little side projects, but as far as movies go, that's it. Television, Saturday Night Live. That there's nothing else. 3 years. Unbelievable. All right. Yeah, on March 2nd, 1982, Belushi was found dead in his hotel room at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles. He was injected with what they called a speedball, a mixture of heroin and cocaine. And the woman that did the fatal injection left him for dead. She admitted to it like 2 months later in a National Enquirer interview, some crazy thing. But there you go. That's it. That's it. Happy birthday, John Belushi. I hope you're up there listening. On this day in history, OTD, 1972. After 28 years of hiding in the jungles of Guam, local farmers discover Shoshi Yokoi, a Japanese sergeant from the Japanese army who was unaware that World War II had ended. And I know what you're thinking of. You're thinking of that famous episode of Gilligan's Island, right? When they find a soldier on the island, they didn't realize, okay, well, enough of that. But it's a true story. It really happened in the jungles of Guam on this day in 1972. Fader fact. Everybody knows how much I love Frank Zappa and my music. Frank Zappa, top of the heap, king, right? For me. Just a couple. I got Frank Zappa. I've got Elvis, Yngwie, Eddie Van Halen, Dimebag Darrell, Randy Rhoads. I've got my little thing that I do when it comes to music, right? Steely Dan. But this is a fader fact that involves Frank Zappa. The album Jazz from Hell by Frank Zappa was sold in stores with one of those parental advisory stickers on it, despite the album being completely instrumental. No vocals. Figure that one out, and that is a fader fact. All right, tonight, very special guest with us. William Henry is here to talk some Egypt and the Iron Throne of Osiris. Reminds you of what? Yes, it does. Game of Thrones, doesn't it? We'll be talking about that in a few short minutes. Tomorrow night's another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines all night long. This Friday, I'm over at Coast to Coast AM. Open Lines all night long with my guest, Jason Martell. So it's a full week here. And then Saturday, everybody, I'm going to be over at the NAMM show in Anaheim. NAMM, for those of you that don't know, that is the National Association of Musical Merchants, right? Music stores. It's the biggest music conference of the year, convention, where all of the manufacturers of guitars and drums and audio gear and microphones and harmonicas and violins and trombones and tubas, everybody gets together and shows off their new music products and old ones too as well. But so that's what it is. It's nothing but Candyland. And there's a couple of 100,000 people that attend. It is absolutely amazing. It's so much fun. I've been to 30, 40, 50 NAMM shows. I don't know how many I've been to. But anyway, I'll be there on Saturday at the Tascam booth at 1 p.m. Tascam is one of our big supporters here. I am one of their artists, and going and hanging out with the company is just so much fun. So I'll be there at 1 p.m. If you are going to be attending the NAMM show, 1 p.m., head over to the Tascam booth and come by and say hi. I mean, how cool for me. would it be for you to come up and go, dude, man, I'm here at the NAMM show. I'm so happy to just stop by and say hello. Let's do that. Take some pictures and hang out. 1 p.m. Saturday down in Anaheim at the NAMM show. So, wow, what a week I have in front of me. Now, I've been talking about this section of the show all week about Bitcoin. And I'm going to end the week this week talking a little bit more about Bitcoin. Because right before showtime, my daughter, Deanna, stopped by the bunker, and she comes in and catches Rita and I talking about Bitcoin. And she goes, what, this is, now we're talking about a 22-year-old college student, okay? When she says, hey, Bitcoin, one of the websites that I go to, or this and that, they're now accepting Bitcoin. What is this Bitcoin thing? Now, what does that tell you right there? It tells you that this next generation, those millennials out there who are so connected to all things technology, and trust me, she is. She's in a technical world. She is in a technical bubble. Everything is iPads and laptops and cell phones and things and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and her bedroom is fully connected and HDMI world, right? Okay, so for her to ask me that, and we jumped into this conversation, was an interesting thing. So really, what is Bitcoin dealing with? What is their demographic, right? What is that? My take is it's an older demographic. It's like 45 and 50 years old and above. Those that have money and disposable income, one, they are interested in Bitcoin. And those out there that want to turn over the governments and the financial system, that's an older demographic. That's certainly not a 20-year-old. Right? It's just not. It's not a 15-year-old. It's not. And they're not buying Bitcoin. Buying Bitcoin is not easy. Got to have a checking account, savings account. You got to be able to go and get through all the security on that, open up an account and do all of that. Kids aren't going to do that these days. They don't care. There may be some out there. But anyway, this is the other aspect of it. Retail. She says, who's accepting it? And this is the trip. This is the trip with Bitcoin. Why it is not money. They're calling it a cryptocurrency, but you could call it a tennis ball. I don't care. You can call it whatever. You call it a candy bar. Call it a school bus. Put any name on it you want, because no matter what you call it, it is not that. It's not money. It's not a security. It's not an investment. It's not anything. It's ones and zeros. Okay, that's what it is. That's where it exists. So that's like, anyway, it's like calling a photograph a JPEG, a photograph. It's not a photograph. It's a JPEG. It's ones and zeros. Now, if you own a liquor store. You own a liquor store. And somebody comes in and you have a way to accept Bitcoin, because now Stripe is not even taking Bitcoin anymore. Stripe is stopping the support of it. That's it. So Stripe. That's it. One of the biggest payment systems out there, retail, point of sale, is not doing Bitcoin anymore. They can't. And there's lots of reasons why behind that. But I'll give you a perfect example. You own a liquor store, mom and pop, man, and you're making your little 10, 20% margin on things. You're not getting rich. You've got your liquor store, your convenience store, and somebody comes up and buys $100 worth of groceries, right? Milk, beer, chips, whatever, dog food, toilet paper, loaded up, right? $100 worth of stuff. And you take that Bitcoin payment of $100. And now so the next day, let's say it's the next day, and the conversion goes in on Bitcoin with whoever you are operating with at that moment, and you go and Bitcoin drops 10%, 20%. Think about that for a second. Your margins are gone. It's not dollars, it's Bitcoin. And as a retailer, how are you going to do that? And with anybody else that is out there, like a company like Stripe, the time that it takes to get the Bitcoin transaction into the system, onto the ledger, and you're now in line with everybody. At what point are you valuing your Bitcoin at? Now, is there a chance that it went up? Sure. But if it went down, and what kind of risk are you willing to take as a retailer? I said last week when I brought up the car example, if you're an independent car dealer and you go and you take a Bitcoin payment, not even independent, whatever, and you take and now you've got to, how is it being done? Is it being transferred right into your Bitcoin wallet, right? Or you guys are both on what? CoinDesk together? I don't know. But now do you have another employee the next day that you are now paying to go and monitor Bitcoins and making it's crazy. And if there's a severe drop the next day and the margin that you just made on that car is gone, that's why it's not money. It's simply not. It would be like going to a retailer and going up and going, man, I'm going to pay for these groceries with AT&T stock. What? Yeah, man, and it's going to go up too as well. So here it is. Well, why are you giving it to me if it's so valuable, that stock that's actually going to go up? And if Bitcoin is so valuable, why are you going to pay me with it? Why don't you just hang on to it? Why don't you just give me dollars? I understand dollars, the kind of money that folds. Why don't you just give me that? You hang on to your Bitcoin if it is all that. And that's the difference. And I tried to explain that to my daughter, and she immediately got it. She understood. All right, so that's it. I'm closing the book on Bitcoin for a while. I'm just done. I'm done. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin in 1 year. Okay? 1 year, Bitcoin, right here. We'll pick it up from there, and we'll see. But until then, that's my take. It's not money. It's not stock. It's not anything. It's a tennis ball. It's Beanie Babies. I just saw that. Funny. It's Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, William Henry. It's all Egypt all the time. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
Natural Health Solutions with Chris and Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Great, Chris.
Now, you're the CEO of GetTheTea.com, right?
Yes, I am.
What is GetTheTea.com? I mean, is this tea you buy in a store?
Well, no, it's not. Life Change Tea is just that. Life-changing. Life Change Tea is an herbal tea that gently cleanses your body from intruders.
What do you mean by intruders?
Well, intruders are toxins, chemicals, GMOs, heavy metals, and more. They're in our food, in our water, in our air we breathe.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
And Life Change Tea will help you with removing these, as you say, intruders?
That's right, Chris.
Are there side effects with this tea?
Well, you might lose a little weight. When you clean your colon, you lose weight, you feel better, and you have more energy.
Wow. Ronnie, where can people purchase Life Change Tea?
Oh, that's easy. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Ronnie, I want to thank you for being on the show. People, don't forget, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Tonight, William Henry is here, and I decided right before showtime to blast this out also onto YouTube. So, hello, everybody out there. And because it's a show for me, I get to do what I want to do, and it's Egypt. Nobody better than William Henry, Nashville-based author, investigative journalist, TV presenter. He's internationally recognized as an authority on human spiritual potential, transformation, and ascension. The spiritual voice and consulting producer of, that's right, Ancient Aliens, and host of the Gaia TV series, The Awakened Soul, The Lost Science of Ascension, and Arcanum. Along with his wife, Claire, William Henry is your guide into the transformative, sacred science of human ascension. Now, he's got over 30 years of research distilled into 18 books, numerous video presentations, and his work will guide you to the next level of human consciousness and expanding our reality. Now, along with his wife, Claire, he leads luxury Ascension-themed tours to sacred sites, including Egypt, France, Italy, and England. And tonight, we're going to discuss the recent discovery of that chamber above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Iron Throne of Osiris. Now, last week, this announcement, I think it was last week, we'll talk to William about this, it might have been the week before, about this and this Iron Throne, and it not only intrigued me, but it took off around the web, and we'll also undoubtedly jump into the recent days of disclosure and what that means to our community and the world. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black, William Henry. William, good evening.
Good evening, Jimmy. How are you doing?
I am doing You know why I am fantastic besides hearing your voice? You know why I'm fantastic?
Why is that?
I'm going to see you and Claire in 2 weeks.
At the Conscious Life Expo, Los Angeles. Can't wait.
I cannot wait. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such an exciting event. It's always good to see everybody, and it's kind of the kickoff for the year, really. It just gets everybody just plugged in.
You know, you're right, though. It is the beginning of conference season. I look at it in those terms, but it tends to kick off right here in L.A. Yeah.
And it's a huge event. I mean, it's grown. They've done such an amazing job over the years, and bring in really awesome speakers. I'm always thrilled to be invited every year and participate. So looking forward to seeing everybody there.
And once again, we'll be doing the Ancient Aliens panel together. Looking forward to that.
Absolutely, yeah, lots to talk about. That's for sure.
Now, okay, let's push Egypt off for a few minutes. I want to talk about Ancient Aliens, if I could.
Sure.
Okay, you posted some pictures. I think it was you. You might. I don't know if you're the guilty party here.
You got my attention. I'm going, what did I do? About to open my website or wherever it was.
Right. Well, no, I think you were hacked by Anonymous, and they got into your iCloud account. And, but anyway, you posted. There were some pictures that were going around. Let's do it that way. Of you and Childress and Tsoukalos. And there was a fourth in the picture. Maybe it was Jason Martell. I'm not sure.
It was Bill Mummy.
Oh, Bill Mummy. That's right. That's right. From Lost in Space. That's who it was. You guys kicking around and having a top secret meeting somewhere in a bunker about ancient aliens. What were you guys talking about? Can you let some of that go?
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, I think if Giorgio or David might have posted that photo. I know the one you're talking about was actually in Los Angeles. We were at the offices of Prometheus Studios, the folks that produce Ancient Aliens, and they brought us out for a big meeting with the History Channel people to talk about the new season. This is the season 11. They were very excited about what the show's been doing, and got a new executive there that's really excited about the show. So they wanted to bring us out there to talk about some new show ideas. As a consulting producer, that's one of the things I do. Usually in a season, there might be 3 or 4 episodes that are directly pulled from my research. So always excited to lend a hand to try to nudge the show into the directions that areas of research that I enjoy. And so it was just a really fun meeting, and it was sort of funny. They said, you guys are the Kirk, Spock, and McCoy of the show, but we're not going to tell you who's who.
And that's great. You guys had a great time. What'd you talk about?
Show ideas.
Yes. What did Can you give us a little inside poop? I mean, what to expect in the new season?
Well, you could go to my website, and several of the things I've been discussing in my articles, including the Salvatore Mundi painting, Leonardo's painting that recently sold for $450 million, will be a topic that we'll be looking at. AI, of course, and then some more of the current era or current time unfoldment of the disclosure subject will also be treated as well.
And you've got this new chamber, too, as well, above the Grand Gallery. Are you guys going to do that? They're going to fly you out there?
I hope so. That would be amazing. I haven't got a call to that effect yet, but boy, that would sure be awesome to be able to participate in a show like that, because obviously things are heating up in Egypt. This is a time of revelation across the board, and it doesn't surprise me that Egypt is starting to open up some new secrets as well.
I can just hear Robert Clotworthy now, ancient alien theorists say.
I know. It's funny. When we had this Alien Con a couple of years ago, 20,000 fans came together in Santa Clara for Alien Con. And there's another Alien Con this summer in Pasadena, which I think will be just as big. Anyway, that was my first opportunity to meet Robert Clotworthy, and we kind of hung out a little bit, and people would come up and they'd say, "Hi, William, how are you?" And then they'd look at Robert and say, "We're not sure who you are." And he would say, "Ancient alien theorists say." They instantly knew who he was. It was really funny.
I got to have him do my voicemail.
There you go.
I wonder how many people ask him to do a voicemail message. I bet you that, I don't think I'm planting a flag there.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's actually an actor, too. I didn't know that.
Yes.
He is yeah.
Yeah, we've had him on the show, and the show was great. But I've got to say this: talking to him one-on-one, that is one of the coolest dudes on planet Earth. He is. You know what I mean? He takes cool to a whole nother level. He really does.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a very down to earth guy. Well, let's talk about the gift that keeps on giving, which is Egypt. This discovery, which I don't think shocked those in our community. We always have known that there's more to discover there, and certainly inside of the Great Pyramid. But those Egyptologists out there have said that there's nothing more to discover inside of the Great Pyramid. But boy, they were wrong, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's been very informed speculation for a while now that, well, of course, we know that there's room for 47 rooms the size of the King's Chamber inside the Great Pyramid. So we've traditionally dealt with one. You go up the Grand Gallery, you go into the King's Chamber, you have the relieving chamber above. Well, the King's Chamber is about 30 feet long and about 15 feet wide. And so think about this, that there's room for 47 more, or 46 more rooms that size in the pyramid. And to think that there's only just what we've discovered, that defies logic, right? And so back in November, you have the SCAN project makes its announcement, that the SCAN Pyramids project, led by these academics, published in Nature, said, hey, we found this huge void, about 30 meters long in the vicinity of the King's Chamber inside the Pyramid of Cheops. They don't know what its function is. They don't know its contents, its destiny. They're about to send some robots in there, do a little scout mission, see if they can take a peek and see if there's anything actually inside there. But it was really pretty big news because now we've got a new revelation and a fresh particle to chew on. And archaeologists are now on the hunt for answers.
The other two pyramids there, we've got Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. Mm-hmm. The same thing has been said over and over again about Menkaure and Khafre, which is that there's nothing inside of those pyramids. I'm not buying into that. Why would they say that? I mean, has anybody tried to get inside?
Oh, I'm sure they have, absolutely. But they got their traditional view that they have to kind of uphold. I mean, it's highly political, and there's some sensitive kind of religious issues as well. So, Egyptologists in the end we won't talk about Egyptologists much anymore after probably another decade or two. It'll just be archaeology will have well superseded that. Science will come in and we'll ultimately get some really powerful information about what really was happening with the construction of the pyramids.
Well, if I built Khafre, which is just a couple of feet shorter than Khufu, right?
Right.
And I'm building that, why would I build it solid?
Right.
Right? What's the purpose in that? I'm being direct. What would be the purpose of that?
Well, one of the stated purposes or potential purposes of the Great Pyramid is that it was to stabilize the land masses of the planet. I mean, that would be the only possible, and that's a stretch, explanation that I would have for why you would build just a solid mass, just a mountain on the Giza Plateau. I think it's kind of an interesting idea, but I also subscribe to the idea that the ancient Egyptians themselves referred to the pyramid as the mountain of light and connected it with the idea of the ascension of the pharaoh. So that, to me, is the purpose of the pyramids, and any aspect of the construction, to me, ultimately has to serve that purpose.
Is there any other pyramids besides Menkaure and Khafre that don't have anything inside of it? As far as I know, I mean, Red Pyramid, Bent, right?
Right. Well, you've got Saqqara, which has everything underneath it.
Right.
You've got that 90-foot deep shaft that goes down underneath Saqqara, and then you've got miles of tunnels that run out from the central area of Saqqara out into the desert, probably all the way over to Giza.
Right.
So that's one example of a pyramid, a step pyramid, where there's nothing in it that we know of. Maybe over Abu Ghurab, you've also got the step pyramids. Dashur, same thing. they probably are markers for what goes on underground at those locations.
But there's something to them, right?
Exactly.
There. I just don't see Khafre as being solid, or I don't understand it. And it's huge, it's massive, and you look at it, and it's just solid blocks. I'm not buying into. I'm just not, and especially when we know now what we know about the Great Pyramid, it's full of stuff. I mean, there's 3 chambers in it that we know of. You have the Grand Gallery. We have this new chamber that has been discovered, and probably more there, right? There's been other, with the scan project, there has been some other anomalies found. So we know that there's a lot to it. And Khafre is sitting right next to it, just as big, just as magnificent, but it is allegedly just solid blocks, and I'm not buying into it.
No, it'll be very interesting if they turn their science on it and make it transparent, basically like the Great Pyramid, and I hope they do.
Now, let's go to this news announcement that came out in mass media 2 weeks ago about this Iron Throne. And of course, Game of Thrones comes to mind immediately, right? I did. I pictured immediately. I went right there, and I'm sure you did too. But the Iron Throne. Before we get to Osiris, what is the legend behind the Iron Throne? What is it?
Well, it's from the pyramid texts, and these are, of course, the texts that describe the transformation of the pharaoh into a being of light. And in the pyramid text, it says that the pharaoh, before reaching the stars of the north, will have to pass the gates of the sky and sit on his throne of iron. So you have this Italian archaeoastronomer, his name's Julio Magli, who takes this information about this void or this chamber in the pyramid and gets this big aha moment that, wait a minute, I think that the Iron Throne is in that chamber, which is a huge leap in a way, but at the same time it does make a bit of sense in light of the pyramid texts, which talk about, as I say here, the transformation of the pharaoh and his ascension. And when you connect that with the pyramid texts that also describe the transformed king as a shining one and as a being of light, and they describe the pyramid as the mountain of light, it becomes pretty clear that the purpose of the Great Pyramid was that it was some kind of an ascension device, and it would make sense that there is a throne of some sort inside the Great Pyramid, and we can talk about why that throne would be part of that process.
Okay, and we'll get to that in a second. The only, as far as I know, you're the smart guy in the room right now, but as far as I know, we just have King Tut and his stuff that he was buried with. Did King Tut or any other pharaoh have a throne?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have King Tut's throne, which is absolutely amazing, although it's made of wood and covered with sheets of gold. Magli proposes or hypothesizes that this throne would be a wooden chair that is covered in sheets of iron. So it's not an iron chair. I mean, you might think of like some kind of an iron throne or something, but it's actually in his vision, which I don't agree with, a wooden chair covered with sheets of iron. And by the way, he goes on to say that he believes that this throne would sit at the upper end of this newly discovered chamber, exactly underneath the pyramid's apex. And so he kind of has this vision like there would be this throne in there that a pharaoh might actually sit on. And he doesn't say this, but you have to kind of go along with what he's trying to say or thinking he's trying to say, because he's not quite sure what he's trying to say, if he's trying to say anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
That the pharaoh would sit on this throne and somehow be beamed out of there. That's reading between the lines what I'm getting out of why he made this announcement and why he's getting all this attention.
Yeah, I did see the depiction of that, how it lines right up underneath the apex. The King's Chamber does not. It's offset a little bit. The Grand Gallery ends underneath the apex, and this chamber above it, with the scan where it is showing up, the end of it, like you're saying, is directly underneath the apex, and that is compelling right there. I dig that.
It's very compelling, and you have an academic that's saying this, and normally academics have to back it up with something, and he so far hasn't put forth any kind of proof or evidence to support his hypothesis, but he's just kind of out there running around saying it, and the mainstream media is giving him a lot of rope, and so it's kind of interesting that they're allowing this line of speculation. Could be sort of a Game of Thrones thing. It might have been a slow news day. I don't know, but for whatever reason, you've got Julio Magli getting all kinds of attention about this throne idea, and after reading his paper and looking at what he's saying, I'm really not sure he knows what the throne actually is. And that's, again, what we can get into.
Right. And we'll do that after the break. And there's a couple of other things that we really need to start to nail down as we continue through the show tonight. First thing, bringing up iron. Now, if you're going to bring up iron at 2600 BC, that's a complicated thing to start to suggest to archaeology, geologists, historians, Egyptologists, where iron did not exist at this time, not for another 1,500 years, right?
That's right. And so this is meteoric iron. This is iron coming from meteorites, and this is why the ancient Egyptians referred to iron as the stone of heaven. And so they would go around collecting these meteorites that contained iron, and this is where they're suggesting they would have accumulated the iron that in order to put this sheet of iron over this wooden throne, alleged wooden throne.
And it would possibly, I mean, it could change. Seeing how they did it, that's the thing. I want to go to the pyramid text really quick. In the pyramid texts are dated when?
The pyramid texts are about 2500 BC, maybe older. They're considered some of the oldest religious documents in the world. You have pristine examples that are carved on the walls of the Pyramid of Unas at Saqqara.
Right.
And their purpose, these are magically active texts. This is something you have to keep in mind, Jimmy, when you're thinking about the pyramid texts, is that these would have been in a chamber, the ceiling's covered with stars, the walls are all covered with hieroglyphs that assist the pharaoh in his transfiguration or his morphing into a being of light just before he enters the gate of heaven in the afterlife. And these texts instigate this transfiguration and ultimately his resurrection. They're magically alive, and they literally lead to his resurrection and journey to heaven, which takes place on a boat or ark of life, which is where he takes this throne in a mystic union with the other gods.
And if now, the reason why I want to get everybody to understand exactly what we're saying here, we're talking about 2500 BC, and right. And references to something like this, and in this case, iron, or any other metal, or anything outside of wood or rock or stone, is something that shouldn't actually exist. And what this throne is made out of, that to me opens up a whole nother ball of wax. Things weren't supposed to exist, and if it does start to show up this way, William, now we can sit back and start to rewrite history, can't we?
Well, sure, because, I mean, iron, you think of 600 BC when you're thinking about actually fabricating iron.
Right.
And so this is at least a 2,000-year-old out-of-place artifact. From that perspective, if you're going that the iron that they're referring to is literally iron, whether it's coming from a meteorite or wherever, if you're thinking the Iron Throne of the pyramid text is this celestial throne and that it's literally iron, then it shouldn't have been possible to actually make this for another couple thousand years.
And also there are, now we're getting into rumor, and I've got about 3 minutes here before the break. You've got enough time to answer. About some of the carbon dating and testing that was done in the relieving chambers above the king's chamber, that some of that testing that was taken out showed iron ore in some of the samples that were taken out of the relieving chambers. Again, wasn't supposed to exist, but is it possible that they had iron or steel instruments to quarry rocks at 2500 BC to build the pyramid, which again is an out-of-place artifact and it isn't supposed to exist, but this would help confirm that.
You're right, and you also have to keep in mind that the actual ceremony, the resurrection ceremony that led to this ascension, also involved an instrument made of iron called the adze, which was the primary tool or instrument of the ascension in addition to the throne. So you have a couple of iron instruments that they keep describing over and over again. And it was a rod of meteoric iron, once again, that restored the body in the afterlife, literally created a double or a twin of the pharaoh that he could then deposit his consciousness into and continue on into the afterlife.
Exciting times, man. I mean, just
very
exciting times. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, William Henry. We're talking about the Iron Throne of Osiris. His new blog about it is up on WilliamHenry.net. Great website. I love it. It's right there. More with William right after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow William at I am William Henry on Twitter. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go back, Lee Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, William Henry, and we're talking about the Iron Throne of Osiris and the newly discovered chamber above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid in Giza. This segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by Life Change Tea, and right now with Ancient Life Oil or Life Change Tea products, you can get free shipping. Just use the promo code FADER, F-A-D-E-R. Click on the banners for Ancient Life Oil or Life Change Tea over at jimmychurchradio.com. And William, we're going to be seeing you in a couple of weeks at the Conscious Life Expo. So just as a courtesy between friends, I'm just going to let you know to set my necklace aside by your luggage so you don't forget it when you come out here to L.A. You know I'm going to come up to you before you get the bro hug. I'm going to ask for the necklace. So
yeah, hang on, Jimmy. Let me put the phone down. I'll go downstairs and get it. I'll just be back in about an hour. Okay.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait to see you guys. Now, the Osiris side of the Iron Throne, throwing that into the picture. What are we talking about here?
Something very interesting is that I reached out to some of the guys in the community, a little bit of comment on the Iron Throne of Osiris, blah, 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 and didn't get any nibbles. And I think part of it is because hasn't been a lot of attention about the Ascension teachings of ancient Egypt, and especially the throne of Osiris. But this is something that I've been actually looking at for a number of years. And one of the first things that you notice when you start researching Osiris and his throne is that, of course, Osiris is the ancient Egyptian god of resurrection. He's believed to be an actual humanoid figure who transformed into the next afterlife status as a light being, and that we could actually follow him in this process. And in his ascension, he's portrayed on a throne. He's wearing a very tight-fitting white linen garment that actually the ancient Egyptians called the Krast garment. It's spelled K-R-A-S-T. And I like to joke that people here in Nashville where I live go to the Church of Krast, and little do they realize, but they're using an ancient Egyptian term for the light body garment of Osiris.
Interesting.
It symbolizes his transformation, his change of state, or change of, you can even also say dimension. He's no longer in a human flesh and blood phase. He's now in a light being phase. And when the ancient Egyptians portrayed Osiris in his ascended state, he's sitting on his throne. And something that you see over and over again in these depictions is that this throne has feathers on it. It has feathers on it because it flies. It's his ascension throne. And so when we're talking about the Iron Throne of Osiris, we have to interpret it in light of meteoric iron, but we also have to be willing to look at it from its metaphorical perspective as well, that this throne is iron and it is feathered. It's an ascension throne, but is it literally made of iron? This meteoric substance that the ancient Egyptians collected and said was the stone of heaven, which, by the way, there was a wonderful British author named Alan Alford. He died really young. He was only 50 when he died about 10 years ago. And he was absolutely sure that Osiris and this iron that they collected actually came from an exploded planet. And this, of course, he was riffing on the Saqqara-Sitchin hypothesis of Nibiru and smashing planets, and that it ultimately this iron was sourced from this smashed planets, which is kind of interesting. It's it's worthy of consideration, but it takes us off the track of the ultimate purpose of this throne, which is that it is some kind of an ascension vehicle. That's its purpose. It was designed to transform the Pharaoh. It's part of this resurrection process. When the Pharaoh would sit on this throne, he would be transformed into a star or a star being, a light being. The pyramid texts refer to this over and over again, that the king has become a star, that his soul has become a star, that he now lives in Orion with Osiris. And you get this idea that this throne is perhaps a symbol for, or is perhaps itself, some kind of what we would call a teleportation device, transformation device, something along those lines. And we have to begin to interpret any reference to iron and the iron-fingered beings who are described conducting this ceremony as being something other than meteoric iron or metallic iron.
And this teleportation, right, this conversation, wouldn't it be interesting if we continue to find no bodies? Right?
Yeah,
right? King's Chamber's
Absolutely.
empty, right? And we get into this new chamber. We find the throne. It's lined up with the apex, but there's no body.
Exactly. I mean, we are talking about the ancient Egyptians building the Great Pyramid as an ascension device, and having installed within it, if we're just following this archaeoastronomer's line of speculation here that this throne is there, that in this chamber would be this iron throne that itself is some sort of a teleportation device that would perhaps somehow dematerialize the pharaoh into light, beam him through one of the star shafts in the pyramid to either Sirius or probably Orion, which is the preferred destination, and then perhaps they could be somehow reformulated into their new ascension body, with their consciousness then deposited into that new ascension body. I mean, there's all kinds of wonderful research, beginning with the work of mathematician Dr. Charles Muses, who said that the ancient Egyptians had a technology in which tones, lights, and plants were used to create a new non-molecular light body into which their consciousness would be deposited at the time of their ascension. Well, as this process is taking place, they are sitting on this iron throne, and the pharaohs are always depicted in their ascended form sitting on this feathered throne, which is also we're said to be made of iron, and it is part of a whole kit of ascension tools that the ancient Egyptians spoke of in quite a lot of detail.
And what's we get into the chamber. There's nothing left but like his sandals. Right?
Well, it would probably be hair, toe, and fingernails, which have no nerves to be transmuted,
right,
according to Tibetan rainbow light body teaching.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Wouldn't that be funny? And I'm not making light of this either. I'm being very, very serious. The research that you've been doing about this, you and Claire have been talking about not only the thrones, but this type of device and teleportation and ascension for quite a long time. And now you're going back and visiting this in a good way because it's sort of vindicating what you've been talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And if people, if listeners want to go check some of this out, they can go to my website, williamhenry.net. I've got my recent post on it called The Great Pyramid and the Iron Throne of Osiris. But as you mentioned, Claire and I, we had a program on Gaia TV called Arcanum. And one of the episodes that we focused on were the Ascension Thrones of the Ancients, where we talked in detail about Osiris's Ascension Throne, his feathered Ascension Throne. And in addition to that, I wrote a book called The Judgment Day Device, and I have a documentary about it that's also available to watch for free on Gaia. You can go to my website, look at the Osiris Throne article, and there's a link in there to watch the Judgment Day Device video for free on Gaia. And it's an expose that goes into detail about these Ascension Thrones and links them with contemporary prophecy, which is extremely eye-catching to me, that all of a sudden we're talking about not just Game of Thrones, but we're talking about Osiris's throne, because ultimately, if an end time type of scenario is unfolding right now, as many people believe it is, this throne is the centerpiece of these prophecies. And so it was just one of those kind of eye-popping moments. It's like, wait a minute, okay, here we are in Newsweek and Time and all these mainstream publications talking about the Iron Throne of Osiris potentially being inside the Great Pyramid. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, there's several intelligence agencies that are right now trying to find that throne, and you can bet your bottom dollar that they're now turning their eye towards the Great Pyramid and wondering, I wonder if it's actually stashed in there.
Did everything that you have presented in the past, well, everything is loose, I don't mean it quite literally, but did everything that you presented in the past line up with what Mugli was proposing in this press release?
Absolutely, because one way that it lined up, Jimmy, was that this throne, when we think of this throne, we think of Osiris having this throne. We also think of King Solomon having this throne, his fabulous flying carpet, right. Solomon's magic carpet. He was sitting on his throne when he's on that carpet. It's actually the throne that flies, and the carpet just happens to be attached to it. And there's just huge amount of, especially academic interest in where is the throne of King Solomon? Will they be able to find the throne of Solomon? It's part of biblical prophecy and Jewish legend that the throne of Solomon will be recovered. And there are some very interesting lines of thought that say that Solomon's temple, the original Solomon's temple, is the Great Pyramid itself. And what if the throne of Solomon is in the original Solomon's temple, the Great Pyramid? So I'm looking at this Jewish legend and thinking about the throne of Solomon, connecting it with the throne of Osiris. Both are Ascension thrones. They're both described as having these teleportation-type qualities, transformation of the king or pharaoh that sits on it, all that bit, and thinking, well, it's possible that the Great Pyramid is the resting place for Solomon's throne.
Now and all of this eventually moves into the Stargate side of things, which is something else that you have been talking about for a very, very long time. But this is now starting to open up those doors too, and they're going right in order. Boom, boom, boom.
Absolutely. I mean, it's almost as if a big reveal, the big disclosure, which we're always talking about, is really just on the horizon. And I've always advocated that we're not going to have true disclosure until we bring in the knowledge of ancient Egypt, especially about spiritual transformation and how they actually use the pyramid as a gateway to the stars. That's something that I think a lot of people intuit. They love the Stargate movies and this premise that the pyramid is actually a Stargate, but there's actually a lot of science and a lot of mythology behind that to make that claim. So always excited when the Great Pyramid is in the news, and now even more excited when we're talking about the throne of Osiris possibly being in that pyramid.
When I want to talk about Saqqara and Giza. To me, and this is, I'm starting in my research as I move along here, this is how I feel. I feel like it's almost the same place, okay? And they are so close together, and until you look at it on a map or start to examine this, I don't think that we should separate the two of them so much anymore. I'm feeling like that entire area of the Nile was just one big ceremonial, very important location.
Yeah, Stargate Saqqara, absolutely. Dedicated to the god Ptah, very important figure in ancient Egyptian lore. They say he came from Sirius, that he was the god that fashioned the bodies of men. He's their god of technology. Not only did he fashion the human body, which sounds something like he tweaked our DNA, just so happens he has what most people today with a genetics background could easily identify as a double helix in his hieroglyph, although just because there's a double helix in his hieroglyph and because the ancient Egyptians said he fashioned the human body, Egyptologists can't even remotely come close to saying that he knew anything about genetics, because of course we know the ancient Egyptians knew nothing about genetics, like they knew nothing about a lot of things. But here he is, Ptah, with the double helix in his hieroglyph, the claim that he fashioned our DNA. Ptah was also a blacksmith, which is important to our conversation. He was a blacksmith. And this is where we start to get all these metaphorical or alchemical lessons between the human body and the craft of iron working or smithcraft and alchemy. So that's very important to bring into the conversation. And then to get back to your original question, Saqqara, Stargate Saqqara, is entirely dedicated to Ptah. And this is the place where you find the first step pyramid created, but also where the resurrection mysteries are encoded in the pyramid texts at the pyramid of Unas, at Saqqara, and elsewhere. It's truly ground zero for, in my opinion, the resurrection mysteries. In fact, there was, for over 3,500 years, 3,500 years, going back to the step pyramid, going through the time of Moses, going through the Ptolemaic period, the time of Alexander the Great, all the way up until the time of Jesus, Stargate Saqqara was in continuous operation as a resurrection mystery school. And if you were anybody on the path or trail of ascension in the ancient world, again, Moses likely trained there. He trained in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, which was taught at Saqqara. Jesus is connected with the mysteries of Saqqara. Imhotep, who is the builder of the step pyramid at Saqqara, was the first human to ascend. So you have all of these connections there at Saqqara that point to that as the primary Stargate mystery school on Earth. And I totally agree with you, Jimmy. It's more like this pyramid complex that we discuss in the Giza Plateau. It's all the same thing. It's all part of the same original complex.
If you're standing in the desert, in between Saqqara and Giza, you can see both, can't you?
Oh, well, yeah, when you're standing at Saqqara and you look off to the horizon, in one direction you see modern Cairo and the Sphinx, in the other direction you see the silhouette of the pyramids.
It's crazy. Like I said, it's just one location.
In one location, yeah. And then if you turn your back around, now you're looking at the Red Pyramid, you're looking at the Bent Pyramid. So you're in the midst of the pyramid fields, they refer to them, the pyramid fields of Giza. But it's really all anchored at Saqqara.
Now, when the ascension happens, and I know you've referenced light being and so forth, but what do the pyramid texts say? What happens?
What they say is that the pharaoh is turning into a star. They have an ascension ceremony that's called the opening of the mouth ceremony, and this is interesting because it's conducted by the four children or sons of Horus who actually open the mummy's mouth, and they are said themselves to have fingers of iron. And so you read that and you go, are they literally iron men, as in men of metal? And now we're thinking Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. We're starting to wonder, is this what we're talking about? And then you go on and you realize that this description continues, where in the afterlife, the realm of the dead, the Pharaoh's going to go through gates of iron, and that the field or dimension of the blessed, which they call the field of reeds, also has iron walls. And then you have, of course, the iron throne of Osiris that is located in this realm of the dead, which they called the Duat. And the idea then is that the body of the resurrected Pharaoh and the throne are then said to be made of exactly the same celestial substance, iron. So iron, I don't think, is literal here. When they're talking about this transformation of the Pharaoh into an iron man, they're not talking about turning him into a man of metal. It's metaphoric language that's talking about his deification or his metamorphosis into a celestial substance called iron. And what's interesting about this, Jimmy, and I wrote about this in my blog, and I've been looking at this for a long time as well, is that in the Jewish mystical tradition as well, they talk about the angels as having feet of iron. So you get this picture in a kind of archaic sense that you're talking about like the Tin Man of the Wizard of Oz or something. These angels or gods clunking around in these iron suits, but that's not the truth of it. That's not the case. Iron is a symbol for the resurrection bodies, the light bodies of these higher dimensional beings. Call them angels as they do in the Jewish tradition, call them the sons of Horus as they do in the Egyptian tradition. It's a term that refers to a celestial substance out of which the throne, the gates of heaven, the walls of heaven, and the bodies of the inhabitants of heaven are composed. And by the way, as I say in my blog, it's no coincidence that Christ rules with a rod of iron in the book of Revelation. Once again, we're not talking about Jesus walking around with some kind of iron rod. It's a symbol for a celestial substance.
I wanted to ask, so there is, because you have all these references in ancient texts in the hieroglyphs of iron, there must be a specific hieroglyph that says iron, correct?
I'm sure there is, and I don't know what it is.
Okay,
I'll find out though.
I'm just interested in what that may be, because the reference goes over and over again, like you said, fingers, feet, the throne itself too, as well. Are they referring to metallurgy, right? Specifically, like iron,
smithcraft, alchemy.
Right. What are they referring to? That's fascinating. And could it be, now this is where, we're hypothesizing here, but maybe they needed some type of protection from something on their hands and feet, right?
Could be some kind of a shielding.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm open to that possibility, but I also know that we're talking a meteoric language here, that this iron literally fell from the sky. They went out in the desert and collected it, made an iron sheet that they laid over this throne. But then we also have to put in the metaphoric understanding of iron as well and layer that on it. And by perhaps, as you're suggesting here, by combining the two, we're going to get to a more accurate understanding of what we're talking about here.
And let's not forget King Tut's famous knife.
Absolutely, the dagger made of iron as well.
And
absolutely, good point.
Yeah, one of the most beautiful. So to say that they didn't know, or they didn't work with it, or they didn't do things with it, that's one of the most beautiful knives ever made, period, in all of history. And it looks as beautiful today as when it was made. And that blade is meteorite iron.
Exactly. So, yeah, very good point. But I want to just kind of reiterate this point about the iron being a symbol for their bodies. I mean, when we think of, we're trying to get a visualization here of the sons of Horus, who are the iron men conducting this ceremony, and the iron angels of the Jewish tradition, or the angels with the feet of iron. And when we think about this, the picture that I'm asking people to consider is that when fire heats an iron, the iron glows like fire. And I think this is part of what they're in describing these men as iron men. This is what they're trying to connect here, is that they're actually glowing. They're burning men. They're on fire with this higher frequency or vibration. They're light beings, and that's part of what they're trying to get us to understand here.
Now, I'm going to point everybody to, we're going to talk about these images here that William's got up in his blog at williamhenry.net, and you can just click on blog and go to the Iron Throne of Osiris. There's two images here. Now, we only have time to describe them. We'll talk about them more in depth after the break. But the first one, which is the Ark of the Millions of Years, right? This boat,
yes,
which has got the Iron Throne on it. Osiris is sitting in the boat with stars above the boat. You've got the blue sky in the background. This has a little bit of everything what we are talking about here, and this is from Dendera.
Correct.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, what we have there is the Ark of the Millions of Years. It's also called the Ship of Eternity. And what we have to understand here is that what we are looking at in this image is a visualization of a human who has been transformed into a celestial being, who is now on his celestial ship, the Ark of the Millions of Years, traveling aboard this ship towards Orion. And what we see is the Pharaoh sitting on a feathered throne. The feathered throne is mounted to the Ark of the Millions of Years as described in the pyramid text. It's referred to as the reed boat. It has lotus blossoms on each end. He's got his key of life in his hand. He's got his crown of salvation on. He's got his resurrection stick in his hand. He's good to go. He is a transformed human who has successfully completed the earthly cycle of human incarnation and is now transformed into a god and is sailing on his ship for eternity. Now, what you'll see there accompanying it is that I have taken a modern depiction of a symbol of a wormhole and superimposed it over the Ark of the Millions of Years, and they're a perfect match. And when I made this connection back in 2003, I describe it as sort of my Robert Bauval, the three pyramids of Giza match the three pyramids or the three belt stars of Orion. It was this aha moment that, hey, wait a minute, is the Ark of the Millions of Years actually the ancient Egyptian term for what we today refer to as a Stargate or a wormhole? And as I continued to pull on that thread, I started to realize that in order for a human to travel upon this wormhole or travel the stars via a wormhole, it requires a transfiguration or a metamorphosis of our body from our earthly flesh into our celestial flesh. And this is exactly what the pyramid texts describe, is the transformation of a human into a star or a star being preparatory to traveling through the Ark of the Million, or traveling upon the Ark of the Millions of Years.
Incredible image. All of them are, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. The wormhole overlay is incredible. We'll take this a step further. Our guest tonight, William Henry. Check it out, WilliamHenry.net. Click on the blog, and you'll see the images there. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with William after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Yeah, man. William Henry is our guest tonight, talking about the Iron Throne of Osiris. And this segment is proudly brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Right now, use the promo code F2B blend and head over to their banners at jimmychurchradio.com, and you'll get 15% off of your order. William, everybody's talking about King Tut's dagger, and I'm looking at these images here. It is, I can't imagine that technology going down back then. Quite simply, it wasn't supposed to exist, but it's a beautiful blade, isn't it? I'm going to post images right now.
Yeah, I mean, everything in Tut's tomb is just mind-blowing. I mean, the Egyptians were masters of building immensely huge buildings or constructions like the Great Pyramid. They were also masters of fine jewelry making, and it's just mind-blowing to think that here we're looking at a dagger 3,500 years old that is just absolutely astounding. And I can't wait to get back to Egypt next month and go into the Tut exhibit at the Cairo Museum and just stand face to face with this stuff. It's true mastery.
Tell us about that. When is that trip?
We're going February 26th through March 12th of this year, and we'll be the trip's just about sold out. Maybe 1 or 2 places left. If someone wants to hurry up and join us, they can. Go to my website, williamhenry.net, for details. But we'll be going back in February of 19 as well.
Yeah, every time I think about you and Claire over in Egypt, I think about that conversation I had with her one day when she goes, you know, one of my favorite things to do is to watch somebody walk into a temple or a special site that connects with them, and they lose their minds. I just think about that. She said it happens every single time. Somebody and because we're all connected to Egypt in some way, all of us.
We are. We really are. Some people say we're all born over Egypt, and we leave over Egypt as well. So I don't know. I think it's interesting.
It's been coming up a lot lately on the show, and I mentioned last night. I wanted to ask you about this. One of these, recurring dreams that I have, and it's over and over again, is I it's probably intentional, but with the subjects of the show and my research. But I'm constantly in Egypt in the time of the pharaohs, watching the Great Pyramid get built. And and it's always a little bit different, always a little bit strange. It's nothing conventional, right? It's never that. But we're all connected there. Do you dream about Egypt?
Yeah, I actually don't. No, I don't have dreams about Egypt that I recall, anyway.
What about when you're in Egypt? You don't dream about Egypt?
No, I don't. I actually don't. I have dreams when I get home as a tour organizer and tour leader that we've got a plane to catch or something like that, and sometimes I've had panic attacks about waking up when I get home and thinking I'm still in Egypt, which is kind of unnerving, and that I've got to get everybody together to go catch a plane or something. But that's just kind of a stress dream or something, but not what you're talking about. But okay. I would love to go into ancient Egypt in the dream state. That would be phenomenal.
I do it all the time. I have one other recurring dream, and it's really weird, and there's something to it. It's going to get unraveled one day. You just said pulling on a thread, right? Well, it's going to unravel. And it's Rita and I, we go on a boat. I'll make it really quick. A boat. We're on an expedition, and we head over. It's like... it's in Asia. It's around India. Somewhere in there. We pull over. We get off, and we head up to this secret. Anyway, stairs, ascending. We head up, and we go to the top of this mountain. And on the top of the mountain, aliens, E.T. Yeah, and it's like this ancient city, and they are there. They're living there now, and it's this secret expedition thing that we go on. And I have this dream all the time. And
how cool!
Yeah, security, army, escorts, this whole thing, and we walk up these miles and miles of stairs, and at the top is this ancient city, but it's occupied by E.T.
Oh, yeah. What a great Ascension dream.
Yeah, man. So I'm telling you, I'm gonna continue pulling on that thread. That thing's gonna come. Thing's gonna come to pass, man.
The Essenes were big lucid dreamers, and they had this whole Ascension theory that you could train your dreams and train yourself to be a lucid dreamer, and that those beings that you're seeing could actually cross over from the dream state into our reality, or you could literally walk into the dream, climb up that mountain, and stay with them and not come back.
Let's go to these. I've directed everybody to your blog, and they're looking at these images now. We discussed the first one with Osiris sitting on the throne on the boat, the Ark of the millions of years, which again, for me, the term millions to show up in text is pretty fascinating to me too. The knowledge of that kind of terminology.
Yeah, you'll find that in Ascension imagery in Egypt on the temple walls. In particular, you'll see various deities. You might see Ptah, you might see Sekhmet offering the symbol of the hundreds of thousands of years, which is the way they're communicating this idea that they're transmitting to humans the secrets of eternity. There's a great example of that at Abydos, where Ptah. Actually, I think I have that image on the blog where Ptah is sitting on his feathered throne, and yes, I do. It's on the blog. Ptah is sitting on the feathered throne, the Iron Throne, the Ascension Throne. He's wearing the crossed garment, this bright white garment of light. King Seti is kneeling before Ptah, and he has his hand out, and Ptah is literally writing the secrets of eternal life into the palm of his hand, and Seti is holding in his hand the symbol for the hundreds of thousands of years. So what's happening there is that Ptah is transmitting to him the secrets of ascension, helping Seti to complete his ascension. And by the way, Seti, if you look at that image, he's kneeling in the sycamore tree, or the tree of life, which is, some people believe, is actually the ancient Egyptian symbol for the human brain, the tree of life.
You took this picture.
Yes.
It's pretty. How big? Because it looks like your point. This looks massive.
It is massive. It's a good 8 feet wide by 8 feet high.
And the tree of life is incredible.
Mm-hmm. That sycamore tree. I love collecting. I've got a whole collection of these images of the sycamore tree of life, or where you've got the Seti or Ramses or other pharaohs kneeling in the tree of life, and they're being initiated by the gods, either Thoth or Ptah or Sekhmet, into the mysteries of ascension, the mysteries of transformation into a celestial being.
Now, for everybody that's wondering what we're talking about, it's about the 5th or 6th image down in the blog. If you scroll down, I want to go back really quick and finish our conversation on the wormhole. In the third image, the second and third image in the blog, with the feathered thrones, you've got the overlay with the wormholes. So take us through that, because in the second image there's no throne.
There's no throne, no. And this is a Ptolemaic king. The Ptolemies, of course, were the successors of Alexander the Great. These are great. They're like Enlightenment masters. They built Alexandria as this great city in homage to Alexander. And there they built, this is 300 BC. They built the lighthouse of Alexandria. They built the library of Alexandria. It was this amazing mecca of the most enlightened people in the world that all gathered together there around 300 BC, and this is where they really start formulating the Ascension mysteries. And so what we're looking at here is a Ptolemaic king who is saying, okay, I am no longer a human, I am now part of the celestial race. I have adopted or utilized these Ascension teachings, and now I am a raised human, a resurrected human, a transformed human, and here I am standing on my Ark of the Millions of Years, the Wormhole boat, as a light being traveling for eternity.
Through the Ptolemaic period, which is 2,000 years forward in Egypt history, were they fully engaged in all of this religion and ascension as it was written at 2500 BC, which would have been 2,200 years prior?
Yeah, absolutely. We went through kind of a dark age, if you will, in the ascension process that began to turn back into the light around 600 BC in Babylon, when you had all the Magi gathering in Babylon, when Ezekiel and Daniel and all the Jewish mystics were taken from the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem to Babylon. They start to formulate a lot of these ascension texts, and then 300 years after that, it really starts to gain a lot of momentum in Alexandria, where suddenly it becomes this idea takes hold that, hey, wait a minute, humans can ascend whenever they want. Before that time, there was this perceived boundary between earth and heaven, and the teaching was that, hey, if God wanted you to cross over that boundary, He's going to give you a set of wings. But until then, don't even think it's possible for you as a lowly human to decide to transform on your own. Well, these mystics, first in Babylon, then in Alexandria, started saying, well, wait a minute, we're working with these watcher angels over here. They're called the fallen ones, according to some, and they're teaching us the technology of heaven, which is how humans can transform into celestial beings. Well, this is exactly what's in the pyramid text. This is knowledge that had been lost, that it is now being reclaimed, especially in Alexandria, and it was the Ptolemaic pharaohs who said, hey, we're going to have this huge revival. And they're actually the ones that went into Upper Egypt, which is the southern part of the country, and rebuilt on the pads of these former temples, the temples that we see today that we consider the great jewels of Egypt: Dendera, Esna, Edfu, Philae, even the Temple of Solomon were all built or rebuilt by these Ptolemaic kings, or certainly controlled by them. And so they would go into, for example, at Dendera, where this photo was taken. When we go into Dendera, you're actually standing on the floor of Dendera is actually the ceiling of the former temple that was there. You can go into some of the side chambers and see the tops of the pillars from that former temple. That famous light bulb that Eric von Däniken made famous to everybody, that is actually in the crypt at Dendera. That wasn't always a crypt. That was the ground level of the previous temple that existed there. We go down a flight of stairs to access it today because it was part of that lower temple structure that the present-day temple sits on top of.
Right.
And so it's these Ptolemaic kings are the ones that rebuilt these temples and revived a lot of this ascension teachings of ancient Egypt.
You write here in your Skyfall section, one of the most interesting things, I've reread this so many times now, where you say in spell 816 of the coffin text, we are told that the meteoric iron came from the sky, from something that has disintegrated. The iron is broken by Anubis in the sky. He, iron, which opened up from the earth. This iron, which is on my mouth, which Saqqara spiritualized in Heliopolis, which makes the water of my mouth to rise. Some believe this description of iron coming from something broken in the sky reveals it was sourced in an exploded planet. When you read something like this in the coffin text, it seems to me to be direct. I don't even think it's a metaphor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're clearly saying this came from the sky, or that this is the substance of the sky. This is why they referred to iron as the stone of heaven, which is very interesting because there are, in various traditions, references to the stone of heaven, the celestial substance. And while, for example, when they talk about the Chintamani stone in the Tibetan tradition, this is the substance of heaven, or the stone of heaven. They call it the wish-fulfilling jewel, and it too, in the Tibetan tradition, has this linkage to the transformation of humans into light beings. That was the purpose of the Chintamani stone, to transmute a human into a light being. So here we have this correlation between the Tibetan tradition of a stone that fell from the sky and the Egyptians talking about iron as the stone that fell from the sky.
Before we get to the opening of the mouth ceremony, which again is interesting, the one case that you present here in this blog over and over again with your images and your photography is the throne. It is clearly depicted. They are seated. They are doing an ascension, and they are geared up to do that with things that they are carrying and how they are represented.
Yes. And these are just a few examples. I've got dozens of photos that I've collected over the years. I'm maybe one of the only researchers that actually looks at the light body gear, as we might call it, or kit of the pharaohs. A lot of the other guys, they focus on the bones or the stones, is what I like to say. They're looking at the archaeology of the mummies and that sort of thing. They're looking at the stones of the temple. How did they move those stones? They're so big and massive. What technology? How did they do it? All very interesting questions. But what I've been focusing on are the ascension mysteries on the temple walls, and the understanding that the purpose of these temples, the reason why they moved these stones to begin with, was because they served the purpose of assisting in our transformation into celestial beings. And so when you go into these temples, here are these amazing depictions of the pharaohs, or sometimes the gods, in their ascension gear, with their feathered thrones, with their light body garments. And so I've been making a study. It's very complicated. It's very interesting. It helps immeasurably to be able to look at the ancient Egyptian imagery through the lens of the Christian resurrection iconography and symbolism, the Tibetan iconography and symbolism. It opens it up because I believe that all of these ascension symbols and mysteries come from a common celestial source. And by understanding that there's that common celestial source, I can go into the Egyptian imagery, compare it to the Tibetan, compare it to the early Christian or later Christian, and be able to understand exactly what we're looking at here. So it's a tremendous study, and hopefully within the next year or so I'll be able to publish even more of my findings, either in a video presentation, or I might just keep doing it in blogs, because I hope people are interested in it, because it's really untapped territory in terms of this area of alternative history research.
Oh, your blogs are the best, and this one is just, it's spot on the money. Spot on. Okay, let's go down. I want to get to the opening of the mouth, because it's a very, well, I was going to say it's the closing of everything that we're talking about, but it's the opening of the mouth. But this image that you have here of Isis on the Ascension throne of Osiris is one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. What temple is this in? How big is it? And what are we looking at here? It's incredible.
It is. It's one of my favorites. It's from the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. And we're so fortunate, Jimmy, that when I first went to Egypt in 2003, this image was almost entirely covered with soot. So it was black instead of blue in color.
Wow.
And only within the past, say, 5 to 10 years have they've made a tremendous effort in Egypt, especially at Dendera, to rehabilitate that temple, to rejuvenate it by cleaning it, and it's magnificent with this blue color. And yeah, this image it's high up on a wall, and it's a good, I would say, 6 feet high by about 6 feet wide. And at Dendera, you have one of the most amazing displays of Isis and other deities on their ascension thrones. Horus is there as well. And it's absolutely stunning imagery, and so profound when we realize what they're communicating to us, that these are actually depictions of the celestial beings traveling through the stars as light beings. I had a very interesting conversation again on Gaia, revealing some of this imagery here of the blue avians at Dendera. I sat down with Corey Good and David Wilcock and showed them my collection of imagery from Dendera, among others, showing these blue avian beings in early Christian art and Egyptian art. And Corey's eyes were just practically coming out of his head. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. And it's just another testimony that here we are in these ancient Egyptian temples, and they're telling this hugely significant story that it seems like today we're only just being able to understand exactly what they're talking about.
When we get to Egypt, and we'll definitely do that with you and Claire, Rita and I, we look forward to that. But I have to say, I mean, yeah, Luxor and Edfu, and there are things on the list of the Great Pyramid, of course, but I have to say, Dendera is where I'm going to spend my time. Dendera just flips me out.
Yeah, I love Dendera too. In fact, on some tours, Jimmy, we actually visit it twice, just because you can't see enough of it the first time that you're there, and it's truly a magical place. It's one of the most beautiful temples you can ever visit. It's so peaceful there. I love the sacred lake beside the temple. The Mamisi, which is the birthing chamber, and the early Christian church that's there are some of the most just absolutely serene places you can visit. And then inside the temple, it's just spectacularly beautiful. Just the masterpieces on the ceiling are almost beyond comprehension.
Which was my question. You just mentioned inside. Do you have full access to Dendera?
Yes, actually, when you're at Dendera, you've got pretty well free roam of the place. You can see everything there. All the chambers are always open. There's nothing is usually roped off. It's a very peaceful place. Actually, not a lot of the tourists go there. It's down in Luxor, and a lot of your typical boat tours won't go there. Your metaphysical tours will go there. Your alternative history tours will go there. So my point is that it's not like some other temples that they'll just be overrun with mass numbers of tourists in the peak times. But Dendera is always, when you go there early in the morning, the birds are cooing, the doves are cooing, the dew is still on the grass, and it's just the most wonderful feeling. Can't wait to share that with you.
This just came in via Twitter really quick before we hit this break, William. Can you explain again how you came to the conclusion that wormholes are being depicted on the boats?
Well, when you listen to the story that you're being told by the ancient Egyptians that this is a human who is transformed into a celestial being who is traveling for eternity on his ship or Ark of the Millions of Years. When you look at the way the Egyptians portrayed this ship, it has two lotus blossoms on either end, and then the central part of the ship. When I looked at that, it immediately called to mind the way modern science portrays a wormhole. So what I did is I just superimposed the modern depiction of the wormhole on the Ark of the Millions of Years and asked the question, hey, this looks like a perfect match. Could it be that what the ancient Egyptians are referring to as the Ship of Eternity or Ark of the Millions of Years is what modern science today calls a wormhole?
Yeah, when you look at repeated depictions of this ascension with everybody sitting on the thrones, they're traveling.
They're traveling.
They're
exactly.
not resting. They're not kicking it. I don't want to be cavalier. They're traveling. They're going somewhere.
They're traveling in the stars. Now, what kind of a boat do you travel on in the stars? Well, the ancient Egyptians said, well, you travel on an Ark of the Millions of Years or a Ship of Eternity. And today, we know you travel the stars either in a starship, a spaceship, or you travel, if you're more advanced, as I'm proposing these beings were, you travel via wormhole. You travel as light beings.
And you know what else they're doing? And you can use this, William. I'm gonna give you a gift right now.
Great.
Every one of them is hanging on.
Love it.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Their hair's on fire, isn't it?
Yeah, they're hanging on. They're all holding on to something. They're all hanging on. There's motion.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Schwaller de Lubitz. John Anthony West is a huge admirer of Schwaller de Lubitz's work. He tried to introduce the alchemical imagery into our understanding of ancient Egyptian symbolism, and he talks about this resurrection stick that we see one of these pharaohs holding here. And he said that this actually was some kind of a transmitter of a divine vibration from Sirius. And I got to thinking about this, that if you're going to open the mouth of a wormhole, you need some kind of an exotic substance in order to do that. At least that's what physicists propose. And in order to create that exotic substance, you need a particle accelerator, of which there are two kinds. There are rods and there are rings. And then you go back and you look at this resurrection sticker, this rod in his hand, and you have to ask the question, if this in fact is a wormhole, is he in fact holding a handheld particle accelerator that's helping him to create that exotic matter that keeps the mouth of the wormhole open as he travels through it?
As I look through this stuff, let's take our break right here, but as I look through this, one thing just keeps coming back to mind. This is allegedly Stone Age man.
Right.
Yeah, save it. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, William Henry. And we're going to continue this conversation. I do want to get into disclosure, and we'll do all of that next. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go back, Lee Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go back, Lee Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, William Henry. And this segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by New Pharma, GNU Pharma. Click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com and you can read all about the science behind New Pharma. Use the promo code F2B and you will get 33% off of your order. William, I have a quick question that came in from Twitter before we continue about the dagger, King Tut's dagger. At the hilt, at the end of it, it looks clear. Do you know what that is up there?
No, I don't. I wondered if it's some of that desert glass, that Libyan desert glass,
right?
That he used as well, or was used for some of his other jewelry. I'm not sure. I'm intrigued by it though too.
Yeah, it's. I was going to say it's clearly clear, but it is indeed clear. And looking at it, it goes through it, whatever it is. Yeah, desert glass. Man, yeah, Stone Age man. Yeah. Let's go with that. The opening of the mouth ceremony, which is the end of the Ascension ceremony. What? Take us through that really quick, and this last image that you have.
Right. So when they're preparing the Pharaoh to ascend, they have this ceremony called the opening of the mouth ceremony. You'll see it in Tutankhamun's tomb, for example. You'll see it in the books of the dead, and it's performed, interestingly, with an instrument, an Ascension instrument they call the adza, which is a rod of meteoric iron. And the idea here is that during the opening of the mouth ritual, the initiates are purified, they're anointed, and they're then resurrected to a higher dimension. They're literally resurrected. In the stories they tell of going through 7 halls or holes in space, or sometimes the Egyptians referred to them as houses, until it reached the celestial throne of Osiris, where the sons of Horus, who are beings of light, live, and where Osiris lives or is enthroned. Now, what's interesting about this is that this tells us off the bat that there are at least 2 thrones of Osiris. There's one on Earth, perhaps in the chamber of the Great Pyramid, as we're speculating this evening, and there's one in the celestial realms. So they are somehow connected. Maybe they're entangled somehow. And this is very important because then this crosses over, of course, into Christian imagery as well. This is the idea of the book of Revelation, where John the Revelator looks into the celestial realms, into the heavenly throne of Christ, and sees Christ enthroned on his throne, which is identified as actually as the Ark of the Covenant. And so very important for us to acknowledge here that there are stellar connections to these earthly thrones.
Now, on this papyrus here that you've got this image of, there is what appears to me, I'm going to say, it looks like a stela behind, and there is the Iron Throne depicted on the top of the stela.
That's right, exactly, because the idea is that as this Pharaoh goes through the opening of the mouth ceremony, he's going to change his form, he's going to transfigure or metamorphose into celestial substance, and then his next step, ultimately, as he goes through the 7 houses, is that he will end up at standing before or face-to-face with Osiris on his throne.
I just got email from George, by the way, Nori. I'm just going to let you know he's listening, and he told me to tell you hi, that you're
wonderful.
And he goes, he's a good guy.
Love it.
It just came in. It's fun. You just never know who's listening, right?
No, you don't.
Yeah, you were just on Coast a couple of weeks ago.
Sure was. Yeah, I had a wonderful talk with George. Always good to connect with him.
Yeah, he's the best, man. He's the best. We only have about 20 minutes left, William. I do want to touch a little bit on disclosure. And when this started to go down for you in mass media back on December 16th, and it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. It's all over television. It's all over every mainstream website. Take us through that moment. What went through your mind?
You're talking about the video?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just having. I'm thinking of John Podesta. I'm thinking of how close we were with the disclosure there. I'm also thinking of the throne idea, because I know that behind all of this is a deep interest in the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. I mean, to me, disclosure and biblical prophecy go hand in hand.
Sure.
And ultimately, we know that John Podesta was deeply involved in doing work with extraterrestrial disclosure, also with free energy devices. And the connection for me and what was going through my mind is this story of Dr. Edgar Mitchell trying to connect with John Podesta. Ed Mitchell believed that he was in contact with extraterrestrial intelligences, which would be the same extraterrestrial intelligences that Podesta was presumably talking about. and that he was referring to a free energy device that Ed Mitchell was that he was trying to reveal, and he was looking for assistance from Podesta. Well, in my research in my book, The Judgment Day Device, I make the connection between the throne of Osiris, the Ark of the Covenant, and this, excuse me, sorry, Jimmy.
That's okay.
Just lose my voice.
just like that. That not only is that live radio, but it will always happen when you don't want it to.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. Sorry.
I'll cover for you. Our guest tonight is William Henry, creative producer.
I am so sorry. Suddenly my voice is just gone.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell everybody something really, really funny. Last Friday night on Coast to Coast, the countdown is going. We have 6 seconds. 6. I'm looking at the countdown clock to where I go, welcome. And at that moment, I got something in my throat. And I backed off the microphone, and I'm pointing at my throat to my engineer, right? Dan, he's right there. He sees me. He's panicking. And you know what he tells me? He points at the microphone and goes, "Do it." I was like, so I jumped on the mic. I was like, "Welcome." And I was like, well, I gotta, what choice do I have? And so I struggled with it for the first 30 seconds on the air there on Coast. It happens. It just happens.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, isn't it? But what I was trying to say, and I've got an article on this on my website on the Judgment Day device, and WikiLeaks and Edgar Mitchell working with advanced angels and extraterrestrials seeking a supernatural device. That supernatural device that they were talking about, in my opinion, based on this extensive research I've done on this throne, is the throne of Osiris. This is what they were talking about. This is what they're looking for, is this device that was brought here by celestial beings, guarded by celestial beings, and that ultimately in the prophetic tradition is the centerpiece of the fulfillment of all end times or judgment day prophecies. And so getting back to your original question about what am I thinking back on the 16th as we're looking at this video, I'm thinking about Ed Mitchell. I'm thinking about Podesta and saying, okay, this is the next step. I mean, it's great to show these craft that are doing these amazing things, but I also know behind it is that there's a very powerful device that is awaiting revelation or discovery, and I believe it ultimately has to do with this throne of Osiris.
It's all connected, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I feel like we're just reliving, rehashing, reiterating a story that has been told over and over again for thousands of years. Disclosure is not something that is a modern phenomena. The Essenes were extensively involved in disclosure in 200 BC. The Dead Sea Scrolls of the Essenes are all about disclosure. They are all about close encounters, not of the first, second, third, and fourth kind, but of the fifth and all the way up to the eighth and ninth kind, human transformation into celestial beings. That's what it's always about.
Once one of these, and it's appearing that the dominoes are starting to fall, but once one is knocked over, everything is connected. And I said at the beginning of the show, you may not have heard it, but I've said it before, we can connect the Great Pyramid to the JFK assassination. And I really mean that. Everything is connected. And once one thing falls, it's all gonna reveal itself for everybody, and that is disclosure.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there's going to be some new players that we'll see on the disclosure scene here. I mean, we've had some people that have been really carrying the water and chopping wood on it for a while, but I think that as it goes mainstream, we're going to start to see some new players emerge, and that will make it a highly intriguing, even more intriguing scenario.
Now, there's something else here for me that comes into play. we have had so many different, you can call it conspiracy, alternative stories out there for a long time. And I'm talking about the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, the Knights Templar, the True Cross, going all the way back to its connections into Egypt and Ramses, and some of this that is referenced in the Bible directly, all the way back to ancient alien theory and magic and the mystery schools. But it's all connected and can go all the way through to modern history today, through the United States and Russia and China and around the world. It's truly something that's about to bust wide open, and everything that we've been talking about over the years and fascinated with is about to come to pass.
It absolutely is, and I think that's part of what we're referring to as the singularity, because undoubtedly a lot of this AI technology that we're benefiting from today is probably alien intelligence. It is definitely an alien intelligence on the planet that has never existed before, that in the case of AI possibly has an extraterrestrial connection, or maybe in fact it is man-made. But either way, we are dealing with an alien being. And ultimately, I think the singularity, as we get closer to it's gonna, part of that unfoldment will involve higher dimensional beings and a new physics that will make our quantum physics look like sort of just like training wheels.
I'm having a strange deja vu right now, so I don't know if I've asked you this before, right? Or this is like some crazy deja vu. But today, actually, 4 times this week, I watched the movie Stargate. And
wow.
I did it for a variety of different, well, first off, it's a great movie. But there are some really amazing references in the movie for 1994 that came to pass later on throughout. And I am referring to John Anthony West and the book that just came out, the Great Pyramid Hoax, and Howard Weiss and so forth. Well, anyway, there are references in there and constellations and so forth that we know about today and we talk about. But do you think that there is a part of disclosure that is going on with a guy like Roland Emmerich and Stargate, and what Spielberg has been, the Ark of the Covenant and Indiana? It's just, to me, it seems like there's been a mild form of disclosure through Hollywood. And I don't like making Hollywood references with movies. And when we talk about this, it's too easy to do, but it's also standing right there in front of us.
Oh, absolutely. And in some cases, it's decoy stuff. I mean, it's total disinformation. That's the problem with it. You get a Steven Spielberg, Indiana Jones, and their portrayal of the Ark of the Covenant has nothing to do with the actual Ark of the Covenant, and so it suddenly millions of people get this idea that this is what the Ark is, and it's total disinformation. And now, coming into the AI world, you've got, I'm not picking on Spielberg here, but golly, he's got a new movie coming out in March called Real Player One, where he advocates what the premise of the movie is that climate change has taken over, and the way to alleviate human suffering is for humans to drop their physical bodies and go live in a simulated reality they call the Oasis. And I'm like going, well, Mr. Spielberg, have you not read your Jewish mythology and mysticism and prophecy?
Right.
That the way to human salvation is through love, not by dropping your physical body and entering into a simulated reality controlled by some black box in Silicon Valley. That is, to me, one of the most alarming examples of disinformation coming along that I've seen in a long time. And I blogged about this on, I have an article called Facebook's Portal. It's Gateway to Silicon Salvation, where Facebook is creating this simulated reality technology and rolling it out right now. And here's Spielberg coming along and advocating dropping your physical body as a way to saving the human race.
I want to jump back before I let you go. Your comments about the blue avians and the evidence that you had, and you presented it to Corey. There are some out there, William, that Corey made all of this up. That there's never been a reference to this in the past. What is it that you saw? I mean, we have Horus and we have, some of the gods of ancient Egypt clearly represented with bird heads, but the blue avian aspect of it sounded to me, the way that you said it, was a little bit different. What did you find? Well,
and I have an article again on my website, williamhenry.net, about this. The backstory is that I was doing a program called The Awakened Soul for Gaia, and in one of my episodes I was, and I didn't know anything about what Corey Goode was doing and all of that. I was just doing my own thing, and I had, since 2003, I've been writing about these blue sphere beings and blue beings and blue, I didn't refer to them as blue avians, although I did write a book called The Language of the Birds, which is about the bird tribe, which could be similar to the bird beings that he's referring to. But I kept documenting the existence of these beings that would travel the stars in blue spheres, which I aligned with portals or wormholes, and these blue beings that sometimes had blue wings, were clearly bird-type beings. And so that was an episode that I was doing for Arcanum, for Gaia, and one of the producers just went nuts. He's like, you got to show this to Corey Goode. And so they sat me down, and I brought my collection of images, and sure enough, here's all these historical references, not just to Horus, but also especially in the Christian tradition, where you have the highest order of angels, the seraphim, are portrayed as bird-like human beings. And Corey, it's kind of funny because the first question David Wilcock asked me during this interview is, do I think Corey Goode's crazy? And my answer was, I have no idea if he's crazy or not. In fact, I don't really know what he's talking about. I'm just here to show you that I've collected these images of these blue bird men angels who are watchers of the door or gate linking Earth with the heavenly realms, and they appear over and over again in various traditions, especially originating in the Egyptian tradition with Horus, and then they reappear in the Christian tradition as the blue seraphim angels, who are the guardians of the throne of Christ. They are the sons of Horus. They are the beings that we've been talking about this evening as the guardians of the Iron Throne of Osiris, because the Iron Throne of Osiris and the Throne of Christ are very similar, if not identical, thrones. So that was kind of the idea there of just showing Corey that there's this historical evidence that these beings have been around for a while, and I wasn't trying to make a case that Corey is accurate in what he's saying or truthful or whatever. That's none of my business. I was just trying to make the case that there's very good evidence for the blue spheres, traveling the stars in blue spheres, and artistic representations of these blue avian type beings.
This is a heck of a collection of images. I'm looking at them here.
Yeah, it's just a few of them. I mean, this is just what I put in the blog, and I was inspired to write that after that episode, just talking about it, and just kind of intrigued. I mean, I wrote a book called Oracle of the Illuminati in 2004, and this is where I first started documenting these blue sphere beings and traditions that say that the blue sphere is like a time portal that might be. There was a physicist named John Kramer who originally proposed this, that an advanced civilization could shoot particles at Earth that would be time portals, and they would be able to come into the Earth plane, poke around, and if these tiny particles of light, found something that was interesting, they could open into the size of a wormhole so that a visitor from this planet of origination could pass through, or a person on Earth could enter into one of these portals and, excuse me, travel to that planet. Well, there's lots of spiritual traditions, including surrounding Jesus, that talk about the blue sphere as an ascension sphere, and I documented that as well, especially Ravenna, Italy. They had this idea that when Jesus ascended, he ascended in a blue sphere. And this, of course, correlated with the story that Corey's been telling about how he apparently traveled into the stars on these blue spheres.
Yeah, I'm looking at this picture here that you took, and there's Horus sitting on the Ascension throne, being presented clearly a being inside of a sphere.
Yes.
That is the craziest thing. This isn't real. You photoshopped this.
Yeah, I wish.
That is crazy.
It's absolutely real, and this is a tradition that's been in place for a very long time, and as I documented in the article, it transposed into the Christian tradition where Horus is the son of God to the Egyptians. Jesus is considered a second Horus, a second son of God, and he is portrayed with exactly the same imagery.
This is incredible, and I'm going to post this article up on Twitter right after we're done here. I've got to thank you. Thank you so much. Again, another wonderful evening with you here on Fade to Black. What are you going to be speaking about this time around at Conscious Life Expo?
I am going to be speaking, well, I'll be enjoying the panel with you on Friday night, the Ancient Aliens panel. Then on Saturday, I will be doing, I call it Summoning the Angels. It's talking about artificial intelligence and the answer to Elon Musk's proposal that with AI we're summoning the demon. The answer to AI and what's coming with that to me is we're going to have to awaken our Ascension intelligence as the antidote to artificial intelligence and summon the angels to get a hold of this technology. Unfortunately, there's a movement right now among some very important business people to start to put AI back in the box as much as we possibly can at this point. So I'll be talking about that on Saturday. On Monday, I'm doing a post-conference workshop called The Sacred Art of Ascension, which is sharing all this art and how art is actually has been used for millennia as a way of connecting with our, excuse me, Jimmy, with our divine selves.
Thank you so much, William. I know you're having problems with your throat, so just thank you, and we'll see you in 2 short weeks. We'll be hanging out all weekend, and it's going to be great now. And don't forget the necklace. William,
thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
William Henry, everybody. Thank you so much. It's WilliamHenry.net. The links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. This Blue Beings article and the spheres, I'm going to post this up on Twitter during this break. And when I come back, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. William Henry, the absolute very best. That was a great conversation. Thank you so much for that. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow William at I Am William Henry. I'll be right back.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Opening up the phone lines right now, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. And this segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by New Manna, emergency food storage for you and your family. 25 years shelf life. MSG and GMO free, made right here in America. And they've got a special going on right now just for you Fadernauts, which is you're going to get 10% off of your order. You're going to get free shipping. You're going to get a free autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Just use the promo code Jimmy10. That's Jimmy and the number 10. Click on the Numanna banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. It'll take you straight over there, and every order over $100. There you go, Jimmy10. That is an amazing deal. Best deal on the net for Numanna products, and it's just for you Fadernauts. Okay, so there you go. William Henry. Now, I made a couple of references. Again, phone lines are open. Let me clear those out right now. Okay, phone lines are open, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. William tonight, let's back up a couple of steps, referenced Stargate and Ascension and this Iron Throne. And when all of the news broke on this, I had to go back and check out the movie Stargate, because it seemed to me that there were some things going on. And if you go back, and it's very, very interesting, if you go back and check out some of these little things that happen in Stargate, and listen, they're not part of the plot. It's like in the background, these little references here and there, and the reference to hidden languages, the reference to Howard Weiss, that the pyramid wasn't built when it was built, the references to different star clusters, and all of these little things. You've got to go back, and I was freezing the movie and checking out these references. And there's books in the background, and you just got to start to take some notes that there is this message was there, and I found it fascinating. So, and going through to today with this hidden chamber, the Iron Throne of Osiris, and those references, and the Ascension, and the top of the pyramid, which all of this, now today we're talking about scientific, the Scan Project, and archaeologists, and historian scientists making these references today, when I was like, well, wait a minute now, this was referenced in Stargate. And so I mentioned this to Rita, and she says to me, she goes, okay, you know what, that's it. Pull up this. I got back from coast to coast. It's 3:00 in the morning, and Rita's up. She goes, okay, that's it. We're going to watch Stargate. And we're like taking notes in this. I am blown away with the hidden messages that were there. I don't know. The research that Roland Emmerich did for Stargate to make that movie happen, he had to have been reading and getting into some of the alternative history and researchers that were out there. Surely there is that part of it. But it's also directly referenced in not only the pyramid text and the coffin text, Edfu, history, that these are direct references that were coming straight out of Egypt. This is an alternative theory only. And so this is what I would like everybody to do, because this is what I did this week in preparing for this show. Go and read William Henry's articles that he has put up. Do that first. Go back and check out Roland Emmerich and check out Stargate. Read the articles that were just released on the Iron Throne. Read all of the references that are out there in media on the new chamber that was just discovered. Look at the diagrams, how it's presented, where it is underneath the apex of the throne. This is not made up stuff. This is not crazy talk. This is all right in a row, in lockstep with each other. And it was fascinating for me to go through, because I do so much reading, and I do so much referencing and going back and connecting the dots every day. This is what I do for this show. You know, I'm constantly researching. And all of this stuff is just like falling into place. I couldn't wait to get William on the show. But going back and looking at his images of the different temples around Egypt and some of the papyrus, he's got reference there too as well. And going back and connecting this with what is being released today in mainstream media. It's like, holy crap, this is going down. Now, and I love it that the Iron Throne, and for society out there, for pop culture to make this, oh, wait a minute, Game of Thrones. All right, that's okay with me. Because Game of Thrones, that word throne, Iron Throne, and the throne there, that's out there right now for everybody to make that connection and come in and want to read about this, because they're thinking Game of Thrones and the interest is there. I love all of it. But to back this up and to make these iron references into ancient Egypt and where the iron came from. Now let's talk about this. I didn't ask William about this, but remember, ancient Egyptians had to have seen a meteor turn into a meteorite to land here somewhere in Egypt, go out and collect it and use the material from that. They knew that it came from the heavens. It wasn't already on the ground, right? Thousands of years old. No, they saw something come in from space, come into the atmosphere and crash. Then they went out to its location and collected it. For it to be that big that they were able to fashion thrones out of it, different staffs, different objects, and to make it out of this at 2500 BC, if we go with conventional dating here, that is way beyond. We're talking about Stone Age man. Right? Think about everything that is happening right now. The blade, the dagger of King Tut is real. This is real. That is made from a meteorite. That is iron. Looks like steel to me when you look at the images of this. But all of this went down in a period of which man was making the transition from Stone Age into the Copper Age. Very rudimentary metallurgy going down here. This wasn't anything advanced. So this is happening right now. And what I want all of you to do here in this quest for knowledge and research is to make the same exact connections that I did with all of this. And I'm telling you, that's why I had to go back and watch Stargate as everything unveiled itself with the chamber. The comments about the Iron Throne, William's article about the Iron Throne of Osiris, and the movie Stargate, the references to the pyramid, and the reason why I thought of Stargate and had to go back and watch this, there is a scene. Now, yeah, Moldavite meteor. I like that, Brian. I've got Moldavite right here. Look. I'll hold it up for the cameras. Look at that. I've got a Moldavite ring. It's just I'm not wearing it right now. It's pretty cool. There is the scene in Stargate where James Spader is in the conference room and he's on the whiteboard. And he draws, and he goes, "Well, you need a seventh, And he goes, "It's not on the Stargate itself. It's below the cartouche, and if you look, it's a pyramid with a circle on the top with the line shooting out of the top of it." And that's exactly what is being presented right now with the chamber and the Iron Throne sitting underneath the apex. And it's shooting out to the star. Think about this for a second. It's like crazy talk, I know. But this is happening right now. And so do everything that I did. My mind was just like, wow. That's what I do when I research. I go through these moments of connecting the dots, and it's all right there in front of us. Right? And so we're combining real science right now with these references in the past to the direct pyramid text and the hieroglyphics presented on the walls of the temples in Egypt. It's unbelievable what we're going through right now. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, it's Eric, the Awakening Man.
Eric, the Awakening Man, as I live and breathe. How are you?
I love you, and you know what? Honestly, I don't call very often, but you are right spot on about this is happening right now. And my take is, and not only is it happening right now, in my opinion, I think you probably will agree, it's been happening, but this, I guess they call it predictive programming through these movies that we see, even going back to the 70s when Yul Brynner was in Westworld, these are technologies and things that have been happening. They're just, it's part of disclosure. Do you agree?
I do. I don't question when it's one thing, Eric, to go see a really cool documentary, right? And it could be the most way out, old, new, doesn't matter. And it'll take you to places and it makes you think and so forth. Okay, that's one aspect of it. But when you start to see everything line up, and I'm talking about ancient Egyptian text that is carved on a wall, you have to appreciate one thing. For somebody to carve on a wall, right? This is what happens. You have the journeyman, the apprentice, come in, and he draws. He draws it, right? It's drawn out. This is way before they're sculpting anything. And he draws it. You have the scholar come in behind him and make changes, right? Okay, yeah, you're going to erase that. And they do, right? They're adjusting. They're doing, and then somebody's going to come in and carve, right? And sculpt and chisel and make it perfect. Then you're going to have somebody come in and paint, right? Now, all of that is so labor intensive that what they are carving on that wall is not nonsense. It's done it's done with intention.
It's absolutely not nonsense.
That's right.
That's funny.
It's done with intention. They did it to make sure that A, it was preserved forever, but B, that what they were depicting was exactly what needed to be done and said. It's not nonsense, right? It is very, very, that was serious business for them back then. So when you take that pure intention and you line it up with the things that are happening today, like this chamber, or like the movie Stargate, or William Henry's research, or the blue avians and Corey Goode, you start to take all of this stuff and it all lines up. And that for me, it does line up. That for me absolutely lines up. That for me is the research that I enjoy. I'm able to go back.
Oh, I get excited.
Oh man,
Jimmy, this time of the year, I mean, I seriously, I get up 8, 9 o'clock and I will go literally 10, 12 hours and I'm just off in every single rabbit hole and it all lines up. And I'm not just saying this to try to make myself sound like some sort of a hero researcher, because I want to know. I mean, I listen to you. You have the best guest, period. The information is 99% of the time spot on, and I go and I research it, and I want to say, is this real? And I'm not just calling you to blow smoke. It does line up, and if people want to laugh and think that we're crazy conspiracy theorists, they need to take the time and do the research and find out that this is real. That's my take.
Yeah, it is. It is. And see, one of the things that I enjoy, that I'm actually able to do, I know this sounds absolutely crazy and impossible. It sounds like an e-ticket to Disneyland. But what I am able to do is do all of the research and have the fun and watch the videos and read books and make all of these connections and then turn around and do the ultimate. I get to turn it into a show, right? I'm able to.
What a life, dude!
Right?
What a
right?
life!
And
what a life! Trust me, dude. Hey, if I could have your life, and I'm not trying to blow smoke. I would have no trouble having Jimmy Church's life, and you got the lovely Rita as your producer. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, because and these shows are not, just, we come into the bunker and turn on the power and hit on air and we just do a show. There's a lot that goes behind it. And so when, like this show tonight with William Henry, or any show that we do, it's the culmination of a lot of research, a lot of having fun, fascinated with subjects. Rita and I sitting around and kicking ideas and going and doing the research and contacting people. But that's how these shows happen. And so when we're ready, it's just like, okay, we've done everything behind this. Now let's go have some fun. Let's go and do a show about this now. And it's I'm telling you, it's an e-ticket. It is so much fun to be able to do, and I'm just as excited as everybody else is when we do these shows and we talk about these subjects. I have the same fascination as anybody else does. I'm like a little kid. I'm seeing these light bulbs go off right and left, and you go and okay, wait a minute, that was in this book, and you go and you make it's right there. Okay, well, it was also here, and you jump back, and didn't somebody say something about this? Yes, and jump forward and put it all together, bring a guest on, and then present it. And that's what's so much fun, because I know that you, after listening to this show tonight, can go and check out King Tut's dagger, can go back and look at the chamber and the scan evidence, and go back and read the pyramid text, and look at these different papyrus, and look at the iron thrones, and look at Osiris sitting on the throne, right? See Isis sitting on the throne. See Horus sitting on the throne, making the Ascension. All of these connections and how it all fits into science today and what science is presenting to us. I'm telling you, man, these are great days.
I mean, yeah, it's totally scientifically provable. The whole, Ascension, ET, non-human, whatever, however you want to describe it, it's completely, to me, it's science. But so I want to share this with you, and I'll tell you this because I know you don't have a lot of time tonight, but when I see you at the Conscious Life, I'm going to tell you this story because I stumbled into the Russian the Russian story right before World War I. I won't get into details, but what the Russians were doing with their technology and their science, which I'm going to put you in that rabbit hole one day, and you're going to go, if you haven't already been there, wait till you find out what they were doing with their science and technology that's not being talked about in terms of, you could talk about, AI, you could talk about synthetic beings, you can talk about cloning, you can talk about humanoids and robotoids, but wait till you start to put that puzzle together, and then you look at what's happening right now in our society, and you're trying to make sense of it all and how that fits in. That's going to blow your mind.
Well, wait, you just said what the Russians were doing during World War I? Is that what you said? No,
prior to World War I.
Right.
If you go back to, let's just say, just for the sake of this little quick conversation, 1872, between 1872 and 1931, one of the books I'm reading is about written by this guy in London named Engel, and I'll send you the information. He wrote a book about the Russian scientists, and they were referred to as the mad scientists. And this is what was interesting to me, is what Lenin was doing is he was taking these brilliant scientists and he was putting them almost in a prison, in a sense that, for example, if we took the disclosure community and Corey Good and you and everybody, for example, William Henry, and we all were forced to live in this community, and everything that we researched and that we learned had to be shared and put on the table so that we could all evaluate it and examine it together, then the speed of disclosure would just accelerate. So what Lenin did with the Russians and their scientists is he took all these scientists and he basically abducted them and made them in a prison state, and then he made them study this occult knowledge. And occult is not a bad thing; it's just secret knowledge, is what it is. And he was able to create things, or not create things, but through his scientists, they were discovering things that they were using as technology and in warfare with the Germans prior to World War I. And how that evolves, and you go through the process of Hitler, and then the project, where they came over. I'm losing my train of thought here. When we had the
paperclip,
when the Germans, paperclip, exactly, and the MK Ultra. But here's what a lot of people aren't aware of: is the Russians had their version of the MK of a different type of MK Ultra program that is not talked about. And when I think, to me personally, on my research, when that information comes out and you take that puzzle piece and you put it in together with the German MK Ultra, and now how society here for 70 years in America, we've basically been programmed and conditioned to believe things and accept things, but we're all awakening. We're seeing the reality of what really our history is, going back to what William Henry's talking about and what's happening currently. And it's exciting to me. I mean, it's not a beautiful story to tell, but it's exciting because the truth, as they say, will set you free. And if you know the truth, you don't need to have fear. That's all I'm trying to say. There's no fear in truth.
There's one thing, well, there's many, but there's one thing about the Russians that was always a bit different than us over here, and that is telekinesis, the mind, telepathy, and the exploration of that science. They went full bore. They went full on. Here, it was clandestine, MK Ultra, yeah, okay, but it was a different modality than the way that the Russians approached this. And they didn't approach it from a skeptical mindset. They approached it at it was real, and they were going to scientifically apply it to everything that they could. Yeah, from spying to weaponizing it, but also just making it part of society in general. You know, and they accepted that. It was a whole different type of science and how they approached it in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, all the way through to today. For us, it was always fringe, tinfoil hat stuff in the background. You know, we had a few groups that were dealing with it out in public. We had colleges that were, we were talking about it last night with Dr. Judy Orloff and UCLA and their parapsychology program that was funded by the CIA and so forth. But it was all on the down low, and it was never really accepted in the scientific community. Not like what it was over in Russia. It was science. It was something that they looked at and used completely. It's a fascinating part of history, but over here it is, and it's not talked about much. Would you agree that you don't really hear people talking about Russian history? And I mean, we talk about the Russians hacked our election, which I think is BS, but the fact is they have the technology. They could do whatever they want. Well, you go over to Russia, and you can talk to Rita about this, but if you go over to Russia and you talk to anybody about telekinesis or telepathy or the powers of the mind, that is just what, there's no question about it. Nobody's going to look at you skeptical. It's like the sun comes up in the morning. You know, it is just part of life. It's fascinating. Eric, I'll see you, man. I can't. So you are going to Conscious Life. So we'll see. I'm going. And one last quick thought. I'll try to make it like in 10 seconds. Imagine this, just for fun. Imagine that there was a technology where Jimmy Church walked into a room and there was another living being, for example, that looked just like Jimmy Church sitting in the room with you. And they had the technology to take your mind and your consciousness and all your thoughts and memories and transfer it into another living being, and then take that living being and unleash him on society. We're going to talk about that one day. Well, see, you don't know who you're talking to right now. I do know, but that's why I'm waiting to talk to you in person, because I don't know if you want to talk about it on the air. See, if you saw me on the bunker cam, it's not really me. There you go. You're a robotoid android clone or what? I'll talk to you, Eric. Behave and be well, right, my buddy. Friend. Thank you so much. I love you, man. Take care. Right back at you. Great phone call right there. All right, I got to get out of here. Yeah, Conscious Life Expo. Everybody's talking about it. It's coming up. 2 short weeks, and just go over to jimmychurchradio.com and click on those banners right there and get yourself some tickets and come and hang out with us. We're all going to be there. Okay. Faded Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to William Henry. WilliamHenry.net. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll see everybody tomorrow night. It's Open Lines, it's Fader Night, and John Rappaport with his No More Fake Newsroom live. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.